alcohol, the all of the addictions that are out there that, you know, once the young people get addicted to them, they're going to bring that into your into the home, and it's going to affect everybody's equilibrium in the home. So what could you you know, what could you offer parents in terms of trying to understand where do we draw the line?
Well, the first thing I would say is that in a relationship like a family, you can't just consider the free will of the child. You also have to consider the free will of the parent.
Okay.
And you are, as a parent, you are the adult, hopefully we are. And you know, I think you have a right to say, in my home, there are certain things I will accept and there are certain things I won't accept.
Okay.
The other thing I would say right off the bat is that when you're talking about addictions, there is nothing that takes away the free will of a person more than an addiction.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have your free will anymore once you are addicted to something, whatever it is.
Right.
It could be online gaming. It doesn't matter what it is. But as long as there's something you can't control, you have lost your free will. And so you can't really come and say that if your parents won't allow you to give your free will away, then they're interfering with your free will. It's just kind of doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, I agree with you, and you know, sometimes you need to have a third person there with a perspective that, you know, because as parents we get kind of too close to the picture, and it's very easy for that line to get blurred in terms of, am I interfering, you know, with the free will of my teenager or the young adult who is living in my home and maybe is going to college, but they're still dependent on the parent financially. So I don't think it's so much the age of the child as if you're financially dependent on the parent, then you're still sort of in the position of a child. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you know, I can't give a clear-cut answer that would apply to everybody.
Right.
But what I can say is that when I was a child and as I was growing up, and even when I became a teenager, I always had the attitude that I was a guest in my parents' home.
Ah, okay.
And I even had the attitude, if I go deeper, which I couldn't have formulated at the time, but I can see this now, I had the attitude that my parents are not my parents.
Okay.
I don't have ownership of them.
Okay.
And the reverse of that was that I'm not their child. They don't have ownership of me. But nevertheless, because I'm living in their home, I behave as a guest.
Okay.
I don't behave as if I own the place.
I love that. Well, you know, Khalil Gibran, in his book, The Prophet, he says your children are not your children, that they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come to you, but
through
they don't,
you, but not from you.
Yeah. And so I always believe that, but I love that concept that you just presented of I am a guest. And, you know, I wonder if it had, because you and I are the same generation, if it really just had something to do with our generation, because I certainly felt the same way. And we just did not disrespect our parents in their home. And they constantly reminded us, okay, you know, this is my house. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And so it was just sort of this understood rule. But today's generation of children or young people, they don't behave as a guest in anybody's house. They will pretty much, with American kids, they'll come in and just take over. But Vanessa's here, and she's a young college student living at home. How did that strike you about being a guest in your parents' home?
Well,
that's new for you, right?
I was a little surprised when you said that. Because I you know, we are kind of in a reverent, you know, and
you have that sense of entitlement,
yeah, it's
right?
like that, like the terrible twos, like extended all the way until like you're 30,
right?
40, 25 or something. So yeah, I definitely relate. That's something, you know, I need to definitely change my perspective because, you know, she isn't she doesn't own me and I don't own her.
Right.
So, you know, and I need to
that's
eventually
a
move on.
shift, right?
Yeah. And I'm getting there. I know I don't want to like stay there forever. So yeah.
Right, and I don't think you want to really stay in that I'm a child.
Yeah.
For the
and
rest of your life.
And it really is like it's hard to kind of shift into this like adult mode, even though legally I'm definitely an adult. Yeah. When you have your mom who loves you so much and she babies you, it's like, oh great, like I have to ask her for everything. You know.
Right. But still, that whole concept of being a guest in your parents' house or in anyone's house that you are, even if it's spending the weekend or spending the night, I think that's, you know, for me, Kim, being from the South, Vanessa and I were talking about that. We, you know, Southern people, we just have this sort of sense of hospitality.
Yeah.
And we also have this
chivalry.
Yeah, this kind of chivalry thing and this honor and integrity that's just kind of built into the Southern makeup that it was very shocking coming to the West Coast and seeing that it just doesn't really fly out here in California. So I thank you so much for that perspective. Now, in terms of personal dramas and the world stage of the epic dramas, I know that in the book you talk about developing discernment, the Christ discernment, which essentially I think it's referring to that sense of oneness, that we're all connected to everything, to God, to Source, to everybody else. Is that correct? The Christ discernment? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Right. Well, and one aspect of Christ's discernment is certain that you feel that there is something beyond your own mind and your own ego. There is, first of all, there's something higher than yourself, which is your higher self, your spiritual self, and beyond that, ascended masters and God. And this gives you a sense of perspective on life, you know, where you realize that there is a different way to look at things than the way you look at it from inside your mental box. And you talked earlier about free will. And I said you give away your free will when you go into an addiction, but you can actually be addicted to the ego's view of life, where you are seeing yourself as the center of the universe.
Of course.
That can become an addiction that takes away your free will because it takes away your perspective. See, free will doesn't actually mean you can do anything you absolutely want at any time, but because you can't exercise your free will if you can't see all of your options. And that's precisely what the ego does. It limits the options you can see. And then your will is not as free if you have 1,000 options, but you can only see 2.5.
Right. Okay. That makes perfect sense. Vanessa, how did that strike you?
Well, I definitely agree with the fact that your ego does limit your view of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there was a quote in the book that says that only a drama makes it seem necessary to resist anything, including the dramas of other people. Yeah. What do you think about that concept? Only a drama makes it seem necessary to resist anything, including the dramas of other people. Vanessa, what is that? How does that strike you?
Well, I think because you know how when you're identified with the ego, you think that that's who you are, and you think you are those dramas. So
yeah.
I know that I tend to attract dramas where, you know, I'm identified with maybe being a victim in some way. And
needing, we were talking about the approval junkie.
Yeah, and just constantly having to feel like, oh, well, if I don't get that approval, then, oh my God, then something terrible is happening. You know, just that whole thing playing itself out. And
right.
I think that can be addicting because, you know, you don't really have to take responsibility for yourself if you're
caught up in your personal drama. Well, the other part of that quote, Kim, says, if you have no drama, you are non-attached to any circumstance you encounter and you do not use it as an excuse for not letting your light shine. When you're focused on letting your light shine, you have no attention left over for resisting. You are untouched by the dramas of others. You are simply being the S-U-N, Son of God, who is radiating your light independently of other people or material circumstances. Now, I know I would certainly love to be in that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a long stretch, but I really think that that's an admirable goal. But the more that I study your work, Kim, it does make me feel that this is a reachable goal, that it is doable.
Yeah. And it is.
And it's work, but at the same time, I'm getting this whole thing about I've got to really focus on not reacting. Okay, now after commercial break, are we going into commercial break? Okay, we're going into commercial break. After commercial break, we'll be back with more of Kim Michaels' book, Freedom from Ego Dramas, and we'll be taking some calls later on in the show. Thank you for joining us. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Ristorante in Fullerton, California for our sizzling summer savings. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's and celebrate in one of our festive banquet rooms with your group of 25 or more any day this July or August, and receive your choice of complimentary pizza, hors d'oeuvres, and champagne toast, or party an extra hour on us at your event, food and beverage not included. Call for all the details. And don't forget our daily lunch and dinners, plus our Sunday champagne brunch, just $14.95, which includes the omelet bar, pastas, chicken dishes, salads, scones, and muffins, a chocolate fondue fountain, and champagne. And Junior is waiting to make the omelet of your choice right in front of you. Angelo's and Vinci's has been voted on the Orange County Hot List, the top 5 Italian restaurants in the past 6 years. And don't forget our award-winning pizzas. It's all at Angelo's and Vinci's Ristorante at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022, 714-879-4022. Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free and home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency.
Listen up, America!
Listen up, America. I'm talking to anyone with or without a pre-existing medical condition. A health insurance hotline has now been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Call now for a free, no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. 1-800-402-7599. I repeat, this is a hotline providing free quotes for affordable health plans. It's for anyone without health insurance, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Medical costs are the #1 cause of bankruptcy and financial distress. All uninsured Americans are strongly urged to call this National Health Insurance Hotline right away to protect yourself and your family from an unexpected variety of medical costs that could cause financial hardship. Call the Health Insurance Hotline right now for a free quote at 1-800-402-7599. That's 1-800-402-7599. Call 1-800-402-7599.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk, continuing our discussion on freedom from ego dramas. And Kim, I'd like to open up with another quote from your book where Christ was saying, he's talking about the teachability. And, you know, as a parent, I think we tend to probably try to teach everywhere. And there is this level of discernment that we need to develop about who is teachable and who's not. And I love this quote that says, "Those who continue to project and reject have set themselves outside of my circle of oneness, and they are unteachable to me. I am here to help those who are willing to transcend their dramas. I am not here to validate anyone's drama." I thought that was like really clear and to the point. And people do have a tendency to project their dramas and their stuff onto you, and they will reject anything that is different from their mental box, whatever their worldview or whatever they've been programmed to believe. And I know for myself as a teacher, whenever I would run into a student like that, I realized right away that there's no point in wasting any energy trying to help that person move beyond a box that they're protecting. You just kind of listen to them and say, okay, there you have it. But do you have any further insight you could share with us on teachability? Because I know we tend to try to pound sand into a dry hole.
Yeah, well, the difficulty in a family situation is that you can't get away from your children very easily.
Yeah.
And your parents as well. And so this is where I think if you are a spiritual person, and I'm not saying that this was easy for me as a parent either, because it hasn't been easy for me as a parent. I haven't had what I thought was easy children at all.
I don't either.
And that's of course because of my psychology. But what I think as a spiritual person you can say is that I must have chosen these children or these parents before I came into embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
And why would I do this unless I wanted to force myself to learn a certain lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not stupid, and I knew that I have a tendency to skip this lesson. I want to avoid this lesson because it's hard. And so I chose that parent or that child because that's the person that's most suited to helping me or forcing me to confront this lesson I need to learn. And I think that's the only viable way to look at it, really, because this gets you out of the victim consciousness that we go into. Because when we go into reacting to other people's dramas, we are thinking, oh, I can't change the other person. I've tried everything. I've told them this, I've told them that, I've exposed everything they do wrong, and they don't listen to me.
True.
And so the only thing you have left is to say, okay, but if I can't change the other person, then I have to change myself.
Exactly.
And if I want to get out of this reactionary pattern that I am in, I have to change myself. And if I can get to the point where I'm no longer reacting to the other person, then even if the other person hasn't changed, it won't bother me so much anymore, or it might not bother me at all. And then, does it really matter whether I live with them or not? You know, if they are only my children or my parents, I'm not going to live with them for the rest of my life. It's only going to be for a few years. I can deal with that. You know, when I know there is a way out, and I'm now empowered because now I can change myself. I don't need to change the other person. I just need to change myself.
And well, that's very, very helpful, because as long as you keep in mind that it is temporary and it's not permanent, I think you can pretty much endure anything. But if you feel like, oh my God, I have to do this for the rest of my life, then it can become very unbearable. But Vanessa, what were you thinking?
Well, because I mean, there have been times where me and my mother have come to blows, and I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. But when you said, you know, if you've, you know, risen above reacting to that person, it doesn't matter if you live with them. Right. And it doesn't even matter what they do. It's cool. You're at peace. Whatever they say, whatever they do,
it's their stuff.
Yeah.
And you are coming to that point, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I mean, It's hard.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I have my days where it's like nothing that she says is like, okay, it doesn't bother me. But, you know, there are those days it's like, oh, my God, really? Did that just come out of your mouth?
But it sounds like you're in more of a place of resignation about it.
Yeah.
Okay. We will be we'll be back with more of Freedom from Ego Dramas after commercial break. You're listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm Dr. Parthenia Grant, and I'm interviewing my co-host Kim Michaels about his book Freedom from Ego Dramas. And you really need to go out there and get that whole set of books on the ego, because wow, it's so liberating. We'll have more after commercial break.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion HIP settlement fund. Call now for free information.
855-586-1561. 855-586-1561. 855-586-1561. That's 855-586-1561.
As a small business owner, there's one word that you absolutely dread: payroll. For small businesses, it's a big burden. You may think you're saving time and money doing it yourself. But come on, are you? Timesheets, processing checks, calculating taxes, a total waste of your time. Paychex simplifies payroll processing, saving you time and money. Submit your payroll online, fax it in, or call your dedicated Paychex payroll specialist. And you're done! Learn more at trypaychex.com. Come on, do the math. The IRS dishes out 8 million penalties a year. Make one mistake and you're on the hook. On average, you're losing nearly one business day every month doing payroll. That's time and money you'll never get back, unless you get Paychex. More than 500,000 small businesses already do. Call 888-578-5378. Trade payroll pressure for peace of mind. Call now. 888-578-5378. That's 888-578-5378.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
Here's something you don't hear on the radio every day. Someone who can't see. I am totally blind, and I go through periods where I'm unable to sleep at night and feel like I'm constantly running but can never quite catch up. But this isn't a sleep problem. It's something called Non-24. Learn about the link between total blindness and your symptoms. Visit learnmorenon24.com or call 855-856-2424.
Sponsored by Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
CRN listeners, don't forget What's Cooking in Wine with certified wine educator and master sommelier Michael Jordan, coming your way every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio. You'll find out about the latest trends in wine, food, and the good lifestyle. And by the way, Michael Jordan can talk to those of you that are really into wine and those that are maybe just discovering wine. The great educator Michael Jordan, What's Cooking on Wine, Friday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific on CRN.
Okay. we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on PRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and we're continuing our discussion about personally liberating yourself from ego dramas as we interview Kim Michaels about his trilogy of books on the ego, and the third one is Freedom from Ego Dramas. Vanessa, we were talking during commercial break about how amazingly liberating this material has been for both of us, and you had something to share with Kim.
Yeah, well, after the last show that we had, I had this like revelation where I realized that I don't think I came to this planet or was put on this planet to get everyone to love me or to like me, so it just kind of it helps because it's a weight off of my shoulders. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like I have to be on all the time. Like if I could just chill.
Be yourself.
Yeah. And if someone is projecting something onto me, I just have to remember that that's not my stuff. That's their stuff. They can react any way that they want, just like Kim said last time. So it's all right.
So, Kim, I wanted you to know that the book really is helping a lot of people. Honestly, just reading the book allows you to shift as you're reading it, and getting all of these ahas are just truly incredible. We have, Eric, we have a caller that has a question. Do we have the caller?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Can you give us your name?
Ken Scott.
Okay. And Ken, what is your question?
Well, my question has to do, I mean, I've read the Freedom from Ego Dramas, wonderful book, and the question that came up not only for myself but for others out there is when you're meditating or you're doing the invocations and you actually have a healing opportunity, a healing moment, and something shifts. I'd be very much interested in Kim's experience as to what he feels in his body or his chest or his heart or his mind that actually lets him know that something is moving in the right direction.
Okay, Kim?
Well, for me, it's usually a sense of, it starts with a sense of, I see something. You know, you're reading something, or it can even be during a daily activity. All of a sudden you have this insight, you have this aha moment. Oh, now I see what I've been doing. But that isn't always the release. So what I really look for is that it's almost like there comes this moment where you look at a pattern you've been into, and all of a sudden you just feel something in you that just lets go. And you know that it doesn't have any hold on you anymore because you're just not invested in it. You just, it doesn't matter to you anymore. And to me, that moment of release is the greatest sign that something has happened.
I've certainly experienced that quite a few times. Ken, did that resonate with you?
Oh, yes, it did. And the because I get the aha moments, which I would judge to be a kind of a mental body function, but I also have things happening that I would guess are in my emotional body field or my physical body field, and they will move, or things move there too. When I was and sometimes it can be, I get tired and I have to go to sleep.
Yeah, and process it, right?
Correct.
Kim, do you recommend that?
Yeah, whatever, often when things come up, I would say that you haven't quite gotten to the release yet when you go to sleep, but it's fine to go to sleep if that's what you feel like, because you are then processing, and maybe you are not quite ready to process it consciously. You need some subconscious processing, and so it's okay to do that.
Oh, Vanessa, you had an insight?
Yeah, that's true. Like, I'll know, like, okay, I'm not seeing things right. And as soon as I take a nap and I wake up, I'm like, okay, I've got it. So that definitely resonates with me.
You need that time.
Yeah.
Ken, did that resonate with you?
Yes, it did. I guess the other insight or general insight I had in reading the book, as I look at movies and TVs, programs and sitcoms and those things, it's pretty obvious that the life here on the physical plane is a constant series of ego dramas.
And epic dramas, right?
Well, yeah, they're everywhere. I mean, it's like we're drowning in this ocean of all these dramas.
And I think it does help. I know certainly for me, as I'm listening to the news, and Vanessa, you and I were talking last week on the show about even the movies that we're watching. We're seeing it through a whole nother filter that, Kim, it's allowing me to become more of an observer now of the world around me versus reacting to the world around me. But Vanessa, you had a comment.
And you can kind of see like how like dramas are outplayed in like shows like Game of Thrones.
Oh, yes.
So like every character is like
there's an epic drama and a personal.
An archetype for the ego.
Yes. So, Kim, I think that...
But I think that's an important principle, actually, you're bringing up there, because when we are still blinded by the ego dramas, we just can't see it. We can't see what we're doing. We are completely sucked into this spiral of reacting to what other people are doing. And they are, of course, reacting to us. And then it builds this spiral between two people until they can no longer get out of it. And the moment you can step back and kind of observe it from the outside, that's when you've started freeing yourself from it.
Yeah, and that's why I think your books are so helpful, Kim, because now I have this huge framework in which to see all of my personal dramas and all of the epic dramas that are going on around me, and it really is helping me become less reactive. Now, I'm not saying that the tests aren't getting more difficult as I go along, because I notice that they're getting more sophisticated, but because I am more cognizant of the fact that it is a game and that there are a lot of traps and that there are also tests every step of the way, I can step back now, and as I'm starting to get pulled into a drama, then I can go, oh, okay, it's just a drama. Okay, what is the test here, and what do I need to do to pass the test? And your books have given me all of these tools that help me instantly when I get pulled into a drama.
Yeah, and that's really is what needs to happen. I've oftentimes had this looking at a situation, and what comes to me is, why am I doing this? And the moment you can ask that question, you know, then you have started separating yourself from it. Now you can see it from the outside. You can see, oh, maybe I don't have to do this. Yeah. Maybe I'm actually choosing to do this because I haven't become aware of why and what kind of a pattern I have in myself. Like Vanessa was talking about, she has a need for approval, so she also goes around actually judging herself all the time, saying, I have to be on my best behavior. I have to always be worthy of people's approval. And it becomes such a strain that you can't really stand it after a while.
Well,
and we all do this with the dramas. You know, they strain us almost to the breaking point. And sometimes we have to break before we can step back and say, oh, I don't need to do this.
Well, Ken, are you still there?
Yes, and I have another question.
Okay.
I could. You discussed the I am presence, and also what the conscious you, or which I'll refer to as the conscious me, and I would be interested in your process of feeling physically or emotionally the contrast or the opening, that moment when all of a sudden you were able to have an awareness of your I am presence and your conscious you that were, and there was a contrast between the two. All of a sudden you got it, and you could feel both sides of yourself.
Well, Kim, can you first tell us the difference between the I am presence and the conscious you?
Well, the I am presence is the spiritual self that resides in a higher realm. The conscious you is what is down here in embodiment.
Okay.
And I would say that what I've experienced is that the conscious you really needs, and the reason that's why we use that term, the conscious you, that doesn't mean that the conscious you is always conscious of itself,
right.
But it needs to become more conscious. And when you become conscious, why am I doing this? I don't have to be doing this. That's when you have options. Now you can begin to make choices and say, this is not who I am. And really, what happens is that when you can do that, when you can come to this point where you're not sucked into some kind of reactionary pattern, that's when you can experience your I am presence. And I have several times had the experience where if I'm in a difficult situation, I will sometimes lie down on the bed, for example, and just relax.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll ask myself, not what should I do about the situation, but I'll ask, how do you look at this situation?
Okay.
And many times I have actually been almost taken out of my body and my outer mind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I'm up there looking down at my situation.
Okay.
And there's no judgment, there's no condemnation from the I am presence. It's just you see that there's so much more than what you can see from down here.
Mm-hmm.
And once you experience that, it's like you snap out of this identification with the problems, you know.
And it's not.
Then you realize this is not who I am.
Okay. And then it makes it all a bit more bearable, because I've had those rare moments, you know, where I could truly observe from that higher perspective, and it's just, wow, it's so undescribable, and you just want to get back there and have that, you know, the entire time that you're here on Earth, because this is really a treacherous place, and trying to stay connected to the I am and trying to stay conscious, man, that's some work.
Yeah, and I've noticed that.
Yeah, and you don't have to do that all the time, you know, but if you have never experienced it, you don't even have a frame of reference that it's possible to get out of the ego and the way the ego looks at life. But once you have experienced it, you have that, as you said, that frame of reference, and it's just invaluable to have that.
Vanessa, what were you going to say?
Well, I've had those moments also where I've literally had to, like, step back and say, okay, what's going on here? What am I not seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe I had to take a nap or something, and then I wake up and it comes to me, or maybe a few days later, or
yeah.
like in the form of a book or something.
Yeah.
But I've also noticed that I'll get to a point where everything is so clear,
yeah.
and then I'll step outside, right back into my dramas, and then it's like, oh, it gets foggier and foggier and foggier.
The longer you stay in the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do some cleaning house,
yeah.
so to speak.
And I think that's what the tools in Transcendence Toolbox are about. Ken, how is this material helping you in your own personal dramas?
Oh, well, it's helping me, see them, where in the past I would have to say I was absolutely conditioned by the physical, national, paradigm and the TV and all the rest of that stuff, is seeing that as and feeling it as normal. And now I look at it and I'm starting to, shake my head and see this stuff for the craziness that it is.
And it is a bunch of craziness, and I do know that I just can't identify with it anymore, and I'm so happy to be out of that craziness at the school. My God, what a blessing, sometimes you can't see the blessing in the mess, until you step outside of the mess. But, and you certainly can't heal when you're inside of the drama. And I actually now feel like I can, there's this possibility, this real possibility of becoming whole and healed And I know it's a journey, and I lost a lot along the way, but just not being in that darkness anymore is truly a blessing. And as we're, Ken, before we wrap this segment up, did you have a final question? Or comment?
Well, the dark forces appear to me to have done a very good job with the conditioning us all in the cultural paradigm. I suspect no matter what country you are on the world and but starting the process of differentiating that, which the Kim's books are just excellent at, and I'm very grateful, because it's even the way it's written. There are times, Kim, I have to just stop and digest the sentence or the paragraph, because it has an energy that moves me.
Well, and Kim, I have to say the same thing. I'm just constantly underlining and taking notes and reviewing the material. And there's very little material and very few books that I go back and read over and over. And yours are the ones that require lots of replays, instant replays. You are listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm interviewing my co-host, Kim Michaels, about his book, Freedom from Ego Dramas. We will be wrapping this up after a commercial break. Thank you, Ken Scott, for joining us. And all of the rest of you come back after commercial break, and we'll have more of Divine Love Talk on CRN.
Try Fry Vineyards, the Mendocino County organic wine with no sulfites added, from America's pioneering organic winery. Fry Wine, the first maker of certified biodynamic wines in the United States. At Fry Wines, our emphasis is on producing organic wine of the highest quality, while caring for our planet and palate alike. Check out our website at frywine.com and join the Fry Vineyards Wine Club. You'll receive 20% off all orders and much more. Plus, you can check out our internet-only specials. And go to our crntalk.com website or the frywine.com website and check out Chef Piero's Recipe of the Week. Great biodynamic wines from Redwood Valley in Mendocino County, California. Fry Wines. Go to frywine.com. That's FREYWINE. Frywine.com. Check it out and enjoy great wines at your home tonight.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs are available, so call right now. 800-223-9206. 800-223-9206. 800-223-9206. Call the Total Transformation now. 800-223-9206.
Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free in-home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Okay, guys. All right, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and I'm so privileged to have my co-host, Kim Michaels, continue this discussion with us about his book, Freedom from Ego Dramas. Vanessa and I were just talking during commercial break about how liberating this material is in terms of shifting our perspective of how we're looking at the epic dramas that are unfolding in the media. So, Vanessa, I'd like for you to share how it's helped you.
Well, I think before I could kind of see how like crazy and dramatic people were on the news, and it would make me really angry. Like I would literally like get into these uproars, like I can't believe people are doing this, like what's going on, and like so it really made me realize, like, well, okay, I'm getting angry at all this stuff, like now that's my drama of reacting to all of this, what's going on, so maybe I should just kind of dial it back and see, like, that's their stuff, that's what's going on out there, but it doesn't have to affect me. And even with the whole Illuminati thing, you know, I was obsessive over that at one point, and it made me really depressed. And you feel helpless? Yeah, like what do I do now? So do I have to like cover my television screen up so that they don't see me? I have to, you know, do all this stuff, you know, to protect myself against this like imminent danger when like they're not going to stop me from living my life. They can't really take my will unless I give it to them. So there has to be a point in realizing, like, well, they don't really have any power over you unless you give it to them.
Well, Kim, that was very liberating in your book about the fact that you have to give your free will over to the dark forces. So I'd like for you to close out with an empowering perspective on freeing yourself from being reactive to the epic dramas in the world.
Well, I can recognize the fear that Vanessa was talking about, and I think most people go through a period where they are starting to wake up from the common sleep where you're not aware of what's going on in the world, and then you become aware of all of these things that are hidden, and then you go into almost a state of paranoia or obsessiveness. And that is because you feel disempowered, you don't know how to free yourself from it. But the empowerment is that you have completely free will, and there is nobody, no force whatsoever in this world who can take it away from you if you don't give it to them. And you only give it to them when you're not aware. And so this is again where we talked about the conscious you becoming conscious of itself and realizing I am more than the outer things I'm involved in down here on this planet. And therefore I don't have to let them, these outer things, run my inner life. I can take back my inner life, my inner situation, by looking at my reactionary patterns and letting them go one at a time. That's what you were talking about, Parthenia, that you are beginning to realize it is possible to become whole, and it really is.
And even though it is a process and it is a lot of work, I think we need hope, and that's what I would say that your books are giving me is hope. You know, as I'm coming out of this dark spiral, you got to have hope, because without that, you know, it's hard to get up every day, and I know what that feels like. To give your power away and, you know, to feel at the effect of these dark forces. So I thank you, Kim Michaels, and I again encourage everyone to go out and get this series of books, Freedom from Ego Illusions, Freedom from Ego Games, and Freedom from Ego Dramas. Because if you don't know what games are being played on you, and you don't know the illusions you're caught up in, you cannot free yourself from the dramas. So liberate yourself today. Thank you for listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, and we'll be back next week with more of Divine Love Talk on CRN.
Because that was your theme. Are you tired of hearing your favorite talk radio show sound like this? What if you could hear your favorite shows in crystal clear, high-definition digital sound? Well, with CRN Digital Talk Radio's 6 channels of high-definition radio, you can now hear all of your favorite hosts like you've never heard them before in CRN HD. The difference is amazing. Catch your favorite political hosts like Dennis Prager, Tom Hartman, Barry Farber, and so many more. Entertainment and lifestyle programming like The Robert Conrad Show, The What's Cooking Show, and The What's Cooking on Wine Show, all in true CRN HD audio. Sports, business, travel, food, wine, politics, there is something for everyone, and it's all available in CRN High Definition Sound. Log on to www.CRN Talk for listings and information on all your favorite shows. That's www.crntalk.com.
The radio channel. The radio channel. CRN.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Minetti. And many of you out there suffer from skin problems. Well, I've been telling you for months how to solve that problem. It's called Herpanasin. It's the most unique and effective formula on the market. It cleans your skin from the inside out. It gets rid of all kinds of acne on your back, your neck, your face, so you can feel and you could look like a movie star. Herpanasin is a natural supplement. It was created by Dr. Wayne Diamond and his staff, and trust me, this really works. I've been on these supplements for over a year now and never had a problem. There is no reason in the world to wake up and be afraid to look in the mirror. You trust Larry. Just try it. Call 888-467-4200. 888-467-4200.
How deep in debt are you? $10,000? $15,000? Maybe even more? And every day that goes by, you know what happens. Your debt gets larger and larger and larger. Well, if you've had it with your mushrooming debt problem and the stress it is causing you, make this free call today to the Debt Solutions Network. One quick, no-obligation call is all it takes for one of our partner companies to show you how they can help you get out of debt. So if you have $10,000 or more in combined debt and you want to learn how you can solve it, make this free, no-obligation call now.
800-814-5108. 800-814-5108.
If you are in serious debt, you have to get out of it and fast. Call my friends at the Debt Solutions Network now.
800-814-5108. 800-814-5108. Call us 24/7. 800-814-5108.
Do you have unfiled tax returns or owe the IRS or state more than $10,000? If you don't take action now, your tax problem is going to get worse, much worse. Seizure of property, bank levies, wage garnishments, and potential criminal prosecution. And if you owe the IRS back payroll taxes, chances are you will be visited at your home or business by an IRS agent. Don't become paralyzed by fear. Take action now. Call the experts at U.S. Tax Shield for help. Our team of experienced tax attorneys can get you protected, stop collections, and negotiate a permanent settlement with the IRS and state, potentially saving you thousands of dollars. At U.S. Tax Shield, our tax advisors will review your case for free, inform you of your rights, and give you a guaranteed quote. No games and no tricky upsells. That's why we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. Put an end to your torment. Get protected. Get the Shield. Call U.S. Tax Shield now at 800-211-8753. That's 800-211-8753. 800-211-8753.